Today is Friday, I believe the 26th. It's about 7 o'clock in the evening. The sun has yet to set. What you're looking at, of course, is the moon. It's probably at about day 6. It's got probably one more day to go before it will be considered a half moon. I thought I would do a little function here on the Gemini 2 Losman mount. It's called the search function. And I thought I had it set up. Anyway, so it did crash on me once, so things got a little difficult. But, set it up for a 2 arc minute, what it calls a 2 arc minute search. It doesn't really know because it doesn't know what your magnification is. And then I'm going to initiate a search, and you should be able to watch as the moon is scanned through the camera. And it returns to where it started. Of course, it's still kind of daylight out, so the contrast is poor. That gives you an idea of how the moon appears at 75x. We're operating at 42 decibels of sensitivity and about 1/2000th of a second exposure time. So it looks like we might have a clear sky tonight. I don't want to do any extensive observations. The moon's going to be a factor. However, it might be good to sample a few studies just to get a sense of the effect the moon has on observing. And I've reverted back to 75x primarily because I want to go after almost all the year I've been using 75x, and I want to basically capture the entire year using the same magnification for all the various studies that I've booked for myself in my observing plan. So there we go. This could be Carpe Diem since it's light out, but maybe we'll have a Carpe Noctem later. You of course are looking at the moon. It's probably a day 8 moon, 1 day after the first quarter is completed, first day into the second quarter. What you're seeing is, in general, various seas in Maria, called Maria, some craters, rills. However, I thought what we do is try a new function called a search function, object search. I can set up some parameters. My field of view it says 3 minutes, but I think it's more than that. Search cycles are 10. So basically we're going to watch as the moon swims around the field of view so we can get an idea of what the complete moon just entering into the second quarter looks like. Here we go. It'd be nice if I could slow the speed down a little bit though. But it only has 2 parameters. How many changes in direction and how far afield the image will go. That went completely off the screen there. And returning now to the original image. Of course, I can manipulate it a little bit, and we will do that. Shift it around. Other direction, because we did lose it. So here we go. And we will do the search again. Menu, search, 3 field of view, 3 arc minutes, 10 search cycles, and begin. Now we're not getting a really high contrast view of it, largely because the sky's still light. It's about 7:40 in the evening on a Sunday evening. The plan for tonight, if these clouds manage to drift off, as I hope they will, I'll probably go after some faint NGCs just to characterize what it's like when we have a brightish moon in the sky and you're looking for galaxies. So I'm going to be operating as here, what I call 75x. It's supposed to be like a 28 by 20 arc minute field of view, but I think it's narrower than that because 28 arc minutes should actually capture the entire moon all the way across. So it may be that her magnification is higher, and there's some peculiarities because I was pretty sure that it was 10 by 14 at 150x when I removed the focal reducer. But there's our image. More mysteries to solve in terms of characterizing CCD imaging using the Rev2 system. Later. Well, I found the picture adjust function on the screen, and I'm trying to see if I can get rid of the high contrast images. The pseudostars were coming up because the bright contrast was way up towards where the 145 is on the brightness. So I'm going to try doing some imaging tonight just to see how it plays out. This is an experimental night anyway with the moon out, just to see. Now notice all the artifactual pseudostars are now missing from the screen, and if I run this setting up, see if I can get to it again. That's 140. No, that's not it. If I run this setting up to a certain point, you'll see the pseudo-stars start to form on the screen. There they go. So I'm going to drop it back until the artifacts are gone. You can also see there's quite a bit of faint pixelation on the screen as well. We definitely want to get rid of that. Remember, I'm operating at extremely high long exposure times, so these settings have to be patient with them in order to give it an opportunity to clear the screen up. I had it down to 11 before and it disappeared. I'm just going to be a little slower about this. So I'm reducing the contrast to the point where the artifactual stars will disappear. I think I had it. Let's give it a chance to wait around at 10. See if they dissipate. Yeah, they're disappearing now. I'm going to leave it at 10. Now, here's the next thing I want to play with. Let's go and look at the screen. You can see now the dark contrast bar is splitting the screen here. It's dark on this side, light on the other. That's the best location for being able to get a good view. I have no idea how this is going to turn out when I actually do imaging later on, but it looks like I'm going to have some kind of sky even though the moon's up there. So I'll just try to capture these settings and we'll see how faint we can get with galaxies and get a sense of whether or not we're going to lose the real faint ones or not using these settings. But it should be an interesting experiment. Okay, what we have here is a baseline view of Messier 104 with post-half moon, maybe 25 to 30 degrees away. I had to boost up the contrast because basically it wouldn't even show stars at that low of a setting, so I ran it up to about 50 from about 10. Now our artifacts are back on the screen. What I want to do, and I'm only running at operating at 128 flood, 42 decibels of AGC at this point. Not a particularly good view of Messier 104, and it's not in the high contrast region of the screen either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a swing around to Messier 5 globular cluster. I might be able to pick out Messier 3, so we'll give that a shot first since we're already equatorially flipped on the mount. So I want to just set up some kind of baseline for later views as the moon continues to progress towards the west. Oh, I can now see the dark band on Messier 104 with a little bit of brightening on the cap. So the interesting thing now is having increased the contrast so high, the dark band region is now shifted considerably away from the center of the screen. So the high contrast region is probably right in here, whereas before the dark band was getting as far as here on the screen. But let's take a look at a globular cluster first. Not bad, at least at 128 flood, 42 AGC, I am seeing Oh, that's kind of a wobbly looking satellite passage. The dark band. Also notice that I've reoriented the CCD imager module in the eyepiece, so we're actually seeing Messier 104 longitudinally instead of latitudinally, which is kind of nice. Anyway, let's see if we can make the jump to Messier 3. Like Messier 104, the Edge on Sombrero galaxy, we're now having a look at globular cluster Messier 3 in Canis Venatici. It too is about the same distance, 25 or so degrees from the beginning of the second quarter moon. Not a bad view. Operating at 128 flood, the stars look pretty good, actually. The core is completely masked out by luminosity. But actually not bad. Now, I did push the contrast up to about 50 from about 30. And as I said, when I dropped it down to 10, there was nothing on the screen. So the contrast does affect the sensitivity quite a bit in terms of image presence on the screen. And by the way, that's the location of Messier 3 by just doing a go-to. I haven't tried to center it up or anything. So there's our view of Messier 3. My real plan for tonight is to probably start at Galaxy's NGC 4400 and see what we can pick out with the lunacy in play. The sky's still a bit blue, but you'd expect to see that with the moon in the sky, and there are quite a few clouds up there, so I'm going to lose imagery at certain points. But we're going to stick with 128 flood and a higher sensitivity. Hopefully that will give us as much depth of reach magnitudinally, but at the same time not induce as much a distortion of the images due to flexure in the floor and other factors. So let's see what we can find. Starting with NGC 4300. Well, here's a very interesting view. I figured that M65 and 66 would be close to the moon. I would say we're within less than 10 degrees from the moon, and yet there it is on the screen. The moon is casting quite a bit of light in the sky. It may also be reflecting some into the dew shield, so it's having some effect on the imaging as well as reflection from the sky. But hey, look at that. We're at least seeing Messier 65 there. So that was a nice little detour. I think I'm going to do a pole flip now and start going in the region of Bootes and further east, although there's clouds up there. That's what concerns me the most. Let's do a polar flip now that we've done a little baselining near the vicinity of the moon. Here we are with a view of Messier 5 in Serpens, the globular cluster. We've had views of this before. This is at 128 flood. It's further from the moon. The clouds have yet to cover it up from what I can tell, although that could occur very soon. We're operating at 128 flood. I like the look of the stars. It's possible that pushing the contrast up to 50 means it may be possible to use 128 flood instead of using 256 flood on galaxies. I'm going to have to experiment with that. But I can't really make any kind of determinations until we lose the moon. But it's promising. It would be an interesting exploration. Anyway, I kind of like the way the stars look on Messier 5 and on Messier 3. Let's see if we can. If I could turn up a 14th magnitude galaxy this evening with the moon out, I'd be pretty pleased with that. But that's a pretty good view of Messier 5, although it doesn't look very good on the Handycam because of the brightness of the screen. I'll have to wait till I see what it looks like mañana. Well, the sky's rotating so fast I've had to skip all the way over to NGC 5202 in eastern Virgo. It's a galaxy, magnitude 14.5, 1.3 by 0.3, 200 million light years distant. It's a spiral with a small b or a small bar. I'm not sure we're actually seeing the galaxy anywhere on the screen. What I'm doing now is experimenting with the moon. The screen is so high contrast, it would really be interesting if I could adjust the imaging parameters of the Handycam so I could change the brightness of the image. I may end up trashing all this tomorrow, but at least it's an interesting experiment. Let's see what we got next. 5203 is a galaxy in Virgo, magnitude 14. Let's make the hop to that one, see if it's very close. 5203, let the image generate on the screen a little bit. I'm going to relate the values associated with it as soon as I re-navigate to it. 5203, 5203. Okay. Fetching it from the database. NGC 5203 is a galaxy in Virgo, magnitude 14, 1.8 by 1.1 arc minutes. It's a lenticular, so it's a spiral of class O, 304 million light years distant, very respectably sized. Are we getting any kind of view on the screen? I rather doubt it. Let's see what the next study might be. 5204 is Ursa Major, 5 is in Ursa Major. 5207, magnitude 13.2. Maybe we can have a look at this one. While it navigates, I'm going to go ahead and turn off the imaging. NGC 5207 may be on the screen. It's a little brighter, magnitude 13.2, 1.7 by 1 arc minutes, a spiral with a bar, lowercase. It's 342 million light years distant. This is probably close to being a Messier 31 size galaxy for our perusal, if we can see it anywhere on the screen. Okay, the next galaxy is 5208. It's also a galaxy in Virgo. I will give you the data in a second. 5208. So it's a bit brighter. No, it isn't. 5208 is a galaxy in Virgo, magnitude 13.1, about the same size, 1.7 by 0.6 arc minutes. Spiral, lenticular, class O, 306 million light years distant. I'm only going to do a couple more of these. I want to find something in the 12th magnitude range. 5210, 12.9, that's not going to cut it. 12.3, 5211, galaxy in Virgo. Okay, this is going to be the last one for earlier in the evening. It's NGC 5211. The data on it is magnitude 12.3. A little larger, 2.1 by 1.6 arc minutes. It's it's got a lot of associated descriptors. Spiral with a capital B, a little a, and a B. I believe the little a means it's an active galaxy, 169 million light years distant. All right, I'm going to take a little break for a while, let the sky get a little darker, let the moon progress, and come on out a little bit later. Probably beginning with 5400 or so. Anyway, if otherwise, carpe noctem. Okay, here's it's only 10 minutes later. It's getting pretty late, so I came right back out. Here's a nice study for the evening for me to play with some parameters. NGC 5600 is a galaxy in Boötes, magnitude 12.1, 1.5 by 1.5 arc minutes, basically a face-on spiral with a core, 103 million light years distant, obviously present right there to my eye, but I cannot see it on the Handycam screen because the parameters for brightness are so peculiar. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play with some parameters and see if I can't brighten it up, if I can't get a better image quality on the screen that I'm getting right now. So I'm going to go ahead and bail on imaging at this point, and then I'm going to have to futz around with the buttons on the CCD imager, which has been reoriented, so now I'm completely confused, but I managed to struggle my way through it. So I'll start by reducing the brightness of the screen and see what happens when I do that. And then if I get some decent results, I'll let you see the results after that. But this is a good study because I can at least see the galaxy from my current position. Although it is progressing towards the roof trine, I may have to go to the 5800 series next. Okay, what I've done here is I've dropped the screen brightness from about 140 to 100. Now, unfortunately, the lettering is blocking out the actual galaxy. So it's very difficult to tell whether or not we've seen any improvement. The dark color bar has progressed up a ways though. I would like to probably push the values a little lower until the contrast region is midway through the screen. That may help. So here's my initial trial at this. And unfortunately we can no longer see the galaxy, so we can't tell whether we lost it or made any improvement or disimprovement in its presentation on the screen. As you can see, I've run the brightness way down from about 140 all the way down to 50 of the screen. Color bar is advanced to about right here, the dark bar. So the best contrast region would be right here on the screen. Contrast is still pretty high at 44. Sharpness, I pushed it up a little bit. Hue, it doesn't matter, and color gain doesn't matter. I think what I'll do now is go ahead and search out a few galaxies and we'll have a look at them as part of this ongoing exploration of picture adjust settings and with regards to images. I'm also seeing the clouds now beginning to encroach on where the OTA is pointed, so that complicates things as well. Fun and games. Alright, the clouds are rolling in. The last study I looked up was 5910 Galaxy in Serpens, magnitude 13.6, smallish, 0.6 by 0.6 arc minutes, a lenticular spiral class O, 547 million light years distant. Wow, this must be a brightie. 13.6, but I got clouds now starting to encroach in that region. I doubt we're going to see anything of it. But it's a good number to remember. 5910 would be something worthwhile investigating in the future. This is going to be our Carpe Noctem view. I will leave these settings present that are captured on the camera for the next outing. If we get a clear sky even with the moon, I do want to pursue some of these studies of determining how much effect the moon has and what kind of offsets are possible by changing parameters on the imaging system. Anyway, at least now we're getting a nice contrast area right in here on the screen with the current settings. The contrast is up and the brightness of the screen has been reduced. So I'm looking forward to viewing these on the laptop computer on the morrow. Signing off. Oh, wow, things are starting to pop a little bit. Maybe the clouds are moving off. Okay, clouds are rolling in and rolling out. I'm going to give it a few more minutes here so that we can see. I think we've lost it again. Okay. Carpe Noctem.